In this lesson, we're going to take a look at the side view. We've explored front view on the face and the head and the front view on the body. Now we're going to look at the side view. And all this is to build up to do the ultimate is the 3/4 dimensional view, which is the next lesson. And from here on out, we'll be looking at that 3/4 dimensional view. But this is more for an understanding perspective as to, just proportions and all those body elements and how all the elements relate to each other, just so that we've got a reference of an ideal situation, and then we can play with proportions, have a lot of fun with it. So here we go. I'm going to do 3 drawings on our page here. First thing I'm going to do is draw as straight a line as I can, or if you have a ruler or something, that works out really well too. And all this is for balance. Side view, the way the body works is we want to make sure the character doesn't look like falling forward, falling back. There's actually balanced and looks like they can stand upright. So one thing I'm going to do, we're going to block some things in. Well, one thing that we already played with and blocked in is the head. And as we were talking about before, I'm going to divide this up. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, and the character may end up a little further, so 8.5 possibly is the height, somewhere around there. So that's kind of those ideal dimensions that the average human being is, but we can have a lot of fun with that and exaggeration and play with those proportions. Okay, so here we go. We're going to block in. So we blocked in, a head. Going to block in a chest, torso. Going to block in a pelvis, and take a look at blocking in. Yeah, it will come down. Yeah, about just over 8 to work things out here. So we'll add a little bit more detail on these blocks here and add some curvature to it so we can see more of the structure and how that works. So on the head, and again, not a whole lot of detail here, but if we bring this around, kind of smoothing out that box, and a little indent up here. Hopefully you can see all this. I'll go over with pencil on everything. Have the nose coming out, and then bringing this line down, and bring this as the jaw, and bring that back. And then from the bottom of the ear to about the brow, that's kind of where the ear would go. And then this head would come back, and we'd have the neck. So I'm putting it on an angle. This is more natural than a lot of cartoon characters and such have it straight up and down. That's making it, real simple, but we want to take a look at how things really work and how we can apply it from there. Here, just a little eye here and a mouth, kind of neutral. So here, so this is the chest coming out, bottom of the rib cage coming back. Here's the shoulder back here, coming back and then down. Here is the pelvis, where we got the back side coming around, and this coming down here. So the legs is where it gets a little tricky, but it's actually a simple principle that back from the back side, it comes straight down, a straight line, and then from here we have a curve. So curvature here till we have the knee. And then at that shin that we looked at from the front view, that comes straight, and then from here this curves and then down. So this is that calf that we're talking about, shin at the front, calf at the back. And then it comes down into this triangular shape, which is the foot. Now the only thing we got missing is arm. So here is the shoulder, which we'll do by a square. Do a rectangle here showing the upper arm, bicep. And then we'll take a look at another triangle, but have it smaller at the bottom, so working down towards that wrist. Then we can have another connecting down here, of which we can have some some representation of finger and the thumb coming off that. Okay, so there we go. So just over 8 high. Let me just pencil that in so we can see it clearly. A little indent, because we haven't done a side view of the face, so I'm doing it very, very simple here. And again, we're not going to get a whole lot into detail on the side view of the face, because ultimately we're going to be working 3/4 view. But the big thing is seeing where the jaw connects just below the ear and comes forward, and then the neck, which is all part of the spine, connects down into the chest area. So that comes back. And again, that center line we're trying to keep things so that the character looks balanced. Not necessarily straight up and down, but is balanced out well. There's that curve, there's that straight, this here is that back side, and then we have the knee, and then right on that center line we've got the straight line for the shin, and then bring that out and curved. Because again, I think I was mentioning before, the body is an organic item, and there's all sorts of curves and flows. Same with here. Here's that arm connecting up, coming down into the palm of the hand, and the fingers, and then that thumb coming there. So there's kind of there's that elbow that we have here. And up here, I guess didn't really have to, yeah, I guess I didn't color or put in a line in that box just to help define that shape. Okay, so those are ideal proportions. So we can have fun with that by playing with those proportions, and that's what I'm going to do in the next one here. Is I'm going to do another straight line best we can. Use a ruler if you like. And this one, again, I'm going to kind of play with it as we go, but I'm going to make a larger head. And again, I kind of started with a square here. So this next character is going to be a lot more cartoony. So I'm going to use that triangular shape. And I'm going to use almost another triangle shape, and then an upside down shape of that same, and then that triangular foot here. So if I play with that, I'm going to make more of a big nosed character, eyebrow, going to place that ear where we had here, which is quite close to that center line, and I'm going to give this character a different sort of hairline here coming around. That'll explain the point in the back. And then he's going to be clothed because you don't want to see him without clothes. Here we go. Straight, again, we could put more of a curve on that. And again, if you had a big belt, or like my other character with suspenders, that's all fine too. We can bring that with a bit of a curve, and we can put a little indent where the knee should be, and then bring that down. Bring that, and if there's a cuff on the pants. And then the back side, and kind of curve that in if you like. So lots of variation of what we can play with. But here's really simplifying and taking those main elements and having fun with it. So with the arm, I'm not going to go into all the detail, but I'm going to make it super simple, which is what we do with cartoons. So I'm going to use a straight line, and this is always good, a straight line with a curved line. Makes for an interesting design, and kind of works with the shape and such that we're dealing with. And then I'm going to have a square for that palm. I'm going to do fingers here, and here's that thumb out there. So you can see where that was a lot simpler than this one, but using a lot of the cues, the ideas of how the anatomy is built up to make that work. Okay, so I can just pencil line that in. So I'm giving it a bit of a brow, and then that head tapers back and into the receding hairline. Oh yeah, and we've got that. And again, the eyes from the side view, you don't see much. You know, the dot in the eye. And even if I was going to complete this into an eye, you're only seeing not a complete round eye here. You're just getting a bit because in the side. Because a lot of people make a complete round circle in the side view, and it makes no sense because, yeah, from this angle, it looks quite different. And again, I haven't really gone into a lot of clothes style or anything here. That's something we'll explore a lot more in the coming lessons, is wardrobe and what it tells us about the character. So I'm making this a little more generic, and again, as always, you can have fun, follow along, but you can add to it. You can start looking at wardrobe or how the clothes would work if you elaborate on this character. Put a little cuff on the pants here just to designate those. And then, yeah, so here I'm going to have more shoe, a bit of a sole on there. Maybe, yeah, just a little bit of structure of shoe and such. Okay, so now if we take a look at this one, and we take a look at that head, and if I divide this character up, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5.5 at most, or 4, 5.25. So you can see more cartoony, larger head, different proportions, so we can play along with those and have a lot of fun with it. So last one, I'm going to do a female character. So I'm going to do that center line again, trying to get that straight, and doing the same thing. I'm going to, this character maybe not quite as tall, but I'm going to kind of block things in. Again, there's that angled neck. Have that chest on an angle. Have this area connect, and we have that pelvis. So here, instead of blocking in, what I'm going to do is right away I'm going to get into that straight and that curve, and then that straight and that curve. And then there we go. So yeah, they're not quite the same ground level here. And yeah, and arm. So again, we've got the square up here. We have the straight bit. We've got that angle here. The square on this, fingers, and the thumb. Okay, there we go. Oh, now here we're going to do, I'm going to really work on the head here. So here's that ear. Really going to play with the roundness of the head. I'm going to give this character more forehead with smallish nose. And come up, and that jaw meet at the bottom of the ear. So again, now hopefully I can fix this up with pencil. Some hair. So it's always good to kind of work out the shape of the head and then add hair onto that. Okay, there we go. So let me see if I can kind of clean this up a bit so I can make this work. There we go. Looks a little better. Again, side view, very different from the front view. And then with our structure here, here, happening here, coming in, gonna flip that hair back, and then there's the neck coming down. Okay, so the shoulder. thin up here, and then where the elbow is, kind of bring that out a bit, straight with a curve. Bring that hand back this way. And then the fingers, I'm going to bend them back a little bit this way, and then have the thumb coming out there. Just here, see a bit of the back and have that come in. Have that back side here. And again, this is more that ideal proportion, whatever. It's somewhat exaggerated, making the character at the joints very, very thin. But again, we can work on, or I'll let you be creative and work on some clothes idea, what you can do with this, and cover up some of that anatomy if you want with big clothes and things. But a much thinner character, trying to get that more finesse, more that feminine sort of thing happening here. Okay, so that's as far as I'm going to take it. Last thing I'm going to do, let's take a look at those proportions. Again, I'm not using a ruler, I'm just doing this by eye. So it's not 100%, maybe a little bit more. So what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7.5. Heads tall. Makes sense. It all seems to work out. So that's what we're looking at. So if you can make the visual notes, follow along, do the head tall divisions here and such, just have an understanding of those shapes and such. And also you'll find at the bottom of this video is some very simple blocked in side views and such that you can reference as well. So it's not always just my viewpoint. I try and find good quality images and such that you know, really understands these principles and gives you a different view of how that looks from their perspective. Okay, so there you go. So that's this week's lesson. Follow along, submit, have fun, play with this. The cartoon version, do another page and play around with those side views. Okay, this is all a build up for our next lesson, which is 3/4 dimensional, a lot more complex. Okay, but have fun, play with this one.